Brett Perigo, tonight's second place finisher. Plenty of fans here, Brett, and a solid second place finish.
Yeah, I got to shout out the Turn 2 Terribles over there. They're all a bunch of good guys to hang out with and talk to. I really like them.
How are you doing tonight, man?
Hey, I'm talking here. You know who you're talking to? Macho Man! I'm on my way to Monday Night Raw.
How I want to answer the second one.
Your choice.
It's a trap.
I feel like it is. I feel like he's setting up fights in the front stretch is what he's trying to do.
Speedway. We've got Devin Board with us.
At Keen Motorsports Shop here with Kyle Keen.
Sitting here with Sean Keen. We're going to talk a little bit about racing history.
Yep.
What's up out there? Monday, February 5th, 2024. We are the Turn 2 Terribles. Thanks, everyone, for joining us tonight. If you're watching us live, either on the Turn 2 Terrible page or on PA Dirt Track and Creative, thank you for joining us. If you're from PA Dirt Track and Creative, give us a follow. If you're following us from Turn 2 Terribles, make sure to give PA Dirt Track Creative a follow as well. We got a great show for you tonight. We got Austin Reed, 305 driver, joining us tonight. We're going to learn more about him and his racing history, what he's got planned for 2024. We're also got the new PA track kind of alliance tire penalties. I'm sure that'll be fun to talk about. The High Limit Fan Fest was announced today. We'll talk about that a little bit. And also, you guys went to Racing Xtravaganza, so we'll recap that. So, fellas, how was your weekend?
Very good. I had a great time at Racing Extravaganza. Saw Jeremy, saw some people. See old Kyle Keen, Sean Keen, Chris Frank, some guys. Cool to catch up with. Took the kiddo there and saw some race cars.
Yeah, it was good. I always loved going to that show. I've been going there for most of my adult life and childhood that I remember, and glad it's still around and looked very active this year. A lot of cars in there, so we'll get into that a little bit later. But it's been, it was fun.
Well, we'll talk more about what you guys saw there later. Tyler Heller, what's up? He's hyped for the show tonight. What's going on, everybody out there chiming in? Let's bring on our guests, though. We'll get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, Austin Reed. Austin, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
What's going on, man? Hey, welcome to the show, man. I know we've got to talk a little bit here on and off the last year or so, and we've dabbled in 305 guys a little bit. Obviously, we had Logan on, and Logan was an easy one, right? Because he kept winning and winning and winning and winning.
That's for sure.
He was on a run at that point, right? So, but it's definitely a series that we get to see a lot. We get to see a lot up at Port Royal. Get to really follow along Williams Grove and Lincoln once a year. I always get to that show. And even Path Valley this year I got to see a couple times. So, or at least once. But definitely, a very active series in Central PA and very competitive. I got to know a few guys in that division. A couple years ago, my buddy Kyle Keene helped out with Kenny Hafner, so I got to know Kenny a little bit and really got to learn more about that series. So, and you're knee deep in that series. So, tell us a little bit about your history, your background, your family's history in racing, if any, and how you got to where you're at today.
Well, I'm a Silver Spring kid, so my dad actually started racing late '80s, early '90s. Started in a late model. Did that for a few years. Got into Super Sportsman. Did that for few years. Then got back into late model racing. My uncle actually bought MMI, so they built Viper chassis, sold parts for late models. So we kind of grew up in that kind of scene. So always at the racetrack, always doing that kind of stuff. Then my dad, he actually hurt his back and had to have an operation. So he's once he got back from that, he never really got a chance to race again. And I'm a young kid, and I think I was like 9. He's like, "You want to go racing now?" I was like, "Yeah, that sounds cool." Kid, you're like, "Yeah, let's do this." So he got me a go-kart. At that point, my uncle, he raced go-karts for a lot of years. He was really good. So kind of knew what we were getting into, what we needed to be decent right off the bat. So I think I was 10. We started running Shippensburg. I'll never forget my first time. I was so scared. I was crying. He's like, "Stop crying." They're getting ready to push me off. And I'm like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" Just tears rolling down my eyes. So, got out there, had a blast, and just, went on from there. We won a lot of races. So we mostly ran Shippensburg. Then we started running Hunterstown. We did that for a few years. I'd won a few championships, and I'd say I was about 14 then. We always ran like a class up. My dad always felt like, to be better, to be the best, you got to run against, higher groups, higher guys. At that point, I think like Aaron Ott and Logan Schuhart, they're running junior champs. We moved up to senior champs. And, back then, running go-karts, we were getting like 250 carts a night. So like our class had 30 cars, running B mains and go-karts. It was just crazy back then. It was a lot of fun. A lot of people, a lot of guys that are racing today, came out of Hunterstown and Shippensburg and stuff like that. So we got into, I was about 14. My dad set out, let's, win this championship here and let's move up to a bigger car. He's like, if you win this championship, we'll do something different. So went out. We came down to the last race. I had to win the championship. We won the race, won the championship that year. So in that off season, he's like, "All right, let's figure out what we want to do." It was a little bit tough back then racing. We didn't know a whole lot about sprint car racing itself. We knew that's the goal we wanted to be in. And just funds. So we're, my family, a few of my cousins they're a lot older than me. We're hanging out one night. My dad's like, "Well, I think maybe we can swing a legend car. It's affordable. It's something we could do." And, our goal was sprint car racing. So my one cousin, he owned a business at the time, and he's like, "I'll tell you what, I'll buy the motor. You guys buy the car. Let's go sprint car racing." So that winter, we actually bought a car and motor off of the Dietrichs. At that time, we didn't have like Marketplace and all that kind of stuff. You looked on the internet, you called up Dietrichs. They had 6, 7 rollers there, engines, whatever you needed to go racing use wise. They had everything you needed. So we ended up getting a sprint car motor off those guys. We didn't know anything. I remember Danny actually hopping in it, starting it for us the first time in his driveway, just showing us kind of, what it's like or how to do it and how it sounds and, stuff like that. So, that off season, we kind of got ready. We didn't really know what we were getting into, but we had a few guys we asked that helped us out a little bit. Actually, Matt Campbell's dad, I knew Matt. He was running Pee Wee carts. We used to park next to him every week at Hunterstown, and his dad came on board, sponsoring me, helping us out when I first started racing. So we got everything together. No clue what we're really doing. We knew about racing, but sprint cars were just out of our league. So our first race at Trailways, and we bought a 358 at that time. This was 2006. I was 15 years old. I couldn't run the Grove yet. So we ran Trailways. Our first race, I was actually running second to Billy Dietrich with, I think, 3 or 4 laps to go, and actually ran out of fuel. We didn't know. We were like, fill it up this high. I think we'll be good to go. And we actually ran out. So we just kept building off of that. I want to say our 6th time out, we actually won at Trailways. I was first, and Aaron Ott was actually second that night in the 358. So we won our 6th time out at Trailways. I was 15. Next year we started running the Grove a little bit more. Just trying to educate ourselves. We still at that point didn't know a whole lot, and just kept learning and trying to get better. And so that was 2007. We ran the whole way up till running 358s, I'd say, till about 2009, 2010. Just running around, having fun. And it just got to be a lot. It got to be expensive. My dad, he worked 3 jobs, when I was a kid, so we could go racing. So it was a lot for our family. So we actually were like, all right, let's maybe do something else or something different. So we actually put everything up for sale, and Austin Hogue bought all our equipment. 358 stuff is when he started racing 358. So he got everything from us. So that off season didn't really have anything going on, and I got a call from Jim and Jimmy Strasball. They in the 50 car. They had a 358 at the time, and they're like, hey, we'd like you to come drive for us. Always like what you done and how you act and stuff like that. So I got to go race for them. We ran 358s for a little while. We blew that up, and they were a smaller team, and they were actually working on a 410 that they were building themselves. They got that done. They're like, hey, you want to go try this? I'm like, yeah, I'm a younger kid. I'm like, yeah, 410, that's awesome. So they got that together, and I'd say we ran about 10, 12 races, and we're probably about 2012 right now. Yeah, 2000, right around 2012. So ran about 10 races in the 410, and it was just a little tough. They built it themselves. We were a little bit underfunded when it came to that kind of stuff. Great guys. We had so much fun. We actually ended up parting ways then. So sat out the rest of 2012, and I was like, at that point, I graduated 2 years before that. We started a little car lot, so our business was getting a little bigger. Wanted to kind of focus on that a little bit. So 2013 comes around, and Dean Nouse, Kevin Nouse's dad, he came into our shop the one day, and he's like, hey, I want to go racing. I'll supply motors, you guys supply cars. Let's go 358 racing. So we're like, all right. So we got some cars together, and he had some motors, and we went racing that year. Had a great time. We ran decent up at Selinsgrove. We actually won Lincoln that year with Dean, and that was very special. Then we kept blowing up some motors, having a few problems, and it was, I'd say, end of September, and I'm like, I had enough. All the years racing, from growing up every week, going to the racetrack. We were running go-karts 2 nights a week, running sprint cars all the time. We were growing our business. I was like, I think I need a little break now. It just got to be a lot. So I told him, like, hey, I'm ready to take a break. It's just too much. So that was then in 2013. We sold our stuff. I was done running sprint cars. Special that I got to run 410 a few races and 358s all those years. So 2014 comes around, and got to talk to Matt's dad, Matt Campbell, and he always helped me through the years, sponsor me, paint my race cars, lettering them, always have beautiful looking cars. Matt was getting into 358s a little bit more. They needed help, so me and my one buddy, we went and helped him, and we helped Matt probably the whole way until 2018, 2019. I mean, they're like a second family to us, and he's a heck of a little racer. So got to help him all those years. We got to have, so much fun together, being on the car, being a crew member, just, working on stuff and learning, educating myself a little bit more. Matt started getting rides, so he didn't really need too much help at that point. And he had a roller there, gave me a great deal on it. I was like, all right, now it's time to go have a little fun again myself. I sat out all that time watching, learning. And I was like, all right, let's go do this again. And we weren't sure which route we wanted to go. If we want to go through 58s again. I always watched the 305s. They were growing. I liked that they went to more tracks than just Grove and Lincoln. You're always stuck to the same place all the time. Awesome racetracks, always had a blast. But it's nice to be able to go to Port or Clinton or Path or Baps. It was just so wide open. You got to be a headline sometime. You got to race with late models. You got to run with modifieds. I just wanted to be able to see all that, just not 410s every week. So that's when we came to the decision of running 305s. Motors are sealed. We actually got a motor from Kyle that year, end of 2020, I think. Yeah, right about there. We ran like 2 races at the end of the season just to see if we could still do it. And we're like, all right, yeah, we can still do this. So here we are. We're 3 years in with the Pass Series. I'll tell you what, these guys are tough. These kids could race any other class if they wanted to. It's so competitive. With the rules that we have, it keeps it down to getting your car read that night and who's going to outdrive the other guy. And we have so much talent in this class. It truly is special.
Man, like that,
That's a lot, huh?
I've watched you race the last couple of years, and then I'm like, I know this name. I've seen this guy race, but a fairly common name. Maybe I'm mixing him up with somebody else. And no, you're exactly who I watched race for 10, 12, 15 years ago. And I'm like, is this the same guy?
Yeah.
So like, I remember you in a 358. I remember watching. I can't tell exactly the number, the color of the cars, but I remember the name, and because I remember I thought this is a name I'm going to have to remember. That's what I remember from back then. The Austin Hogue, kind of drivers that were up and coming and getting into it, going, that's someone to keep an eye on. And it's like, I don't see this name anymore, right? There's so many of those guys in Central PA over the years that kind of like are either here, they got it going and kind of faded away. You're back. Okay.
Yep.
So you're back. And listen, that's a lot of experience to carry into a 305 division. And you're finding out quickly how competitive it can be with experience, right?
Oh my gosh.
When I look at that division, the first year I followed it the closest was Doug Dodson. Had a great season. He won a whole bunch of races. Every time he unloaded, he was fast. He was running up front. He was passing cars. The last 2 seasons, I don't know if he's won more than a handful of races. And this is a guy who's ran 410s for a decade, right? This guy has all the experience you could ever ask for.
Yeah.
That's how good that division is right now. It doesn't take a lot to be off, right? So what do you think it takes in that division to consistently run up front and make speed at all these places when it is that close? What's the difference? Like you said, driver. Let's say Port Royal, right? Let's go talk about Port Royal for a second. You can see that there's some cars. That car that's on that night is just visibly faster. What gets it done, right? Because the driver matters, okay, but it's not elbows up, different lines. You're all kind of running the same deal. What is it? What makes a difference when you're that close together on a track that I'm not saying is easy by any means?
Yeah.
What's that little bit you need, maybe?
It's tough. Like Port is actually one of the tracks that I struggled at. Sealands Grove, all these other tracks we got to win or we're really good at. Port, I don't know what it is. I just struggle there. And what's nice, like our guys are winning from 12th, 14th, 8th, not front row kind of stuff. And, through the night, it's just getting dialed in, keeping your car free. We don't have the motor to power out of stuff. It's one thing I had to learn is like you get up in the cushion, that's where you're going to stay. We don't have the power to dig up out of that. One nice thing about Port, it stays slick. And I think by feature time at the end of the night, our lap times are pretty close to the tail end of the 410 guys. But biggest thing I think is just keeping it free, keeping that momentum up without slowing yourself down. It definitely is pretty tough. And these guys, I'm telling you, there's so much talent. Like Logan, I mean, he's the future of the sport. There's so many other guys in there. Owen Dim, Zach Rhodes, Ken Duke. I mean, there's probably 10 of these guys that could compete in any division they wanted to. I mean, it is a really tough class.
Yeah, for sure. And every year I feel like I watch it. There's someone else that like jumps on my radar, and I'm like, man, I've watched them race, but all of a sudden it's like boom. And Owen Dim was that guy for me this year. Watching him run at Lincoln when he was battling for the win with the 44. He was the former 410 driver as well, right? The one with the 44 upside down on the wing. What's his name? Jay Brown.
Yes,
Brown,
Dave Brown.
Right?
Yep,
Dave Brown. So watching him run at Lincoln, watching him almost win at Port Royal in the fall, like he's a guy that really jumped on my radar, right? And he may have won that Port race, but he was going to win it or wear it, and he almost wore it for sure. And Zach actually got the win, and Zach's another one, right? When Zach came on the flash on my radar last year, I noticed it, I saw it, and it was like this steady improvement to like, boom, he's contending for wins this year with Logan, and like you said, it's sort of like the comers and goers in that division. They're ready to move up. Then he could fall off a year, but then boom, you're back. And Kenny Hefner 2 years ago had a great season. This past season, he had some car stuff, he had some motor stuff, he had some wrecks. But it's like it's so competitive that on any given night, you really don't have that one guy. And there's not a lot of divisions that can say that, right? Very few. So
yeah, for sure.
What is your favorite track to race in a 305?
Oh, my favorite track. We've been to Clinton County a few times. That was a blast. I really do enjoy Selinsgrove. We get around there really well. I mean, honestly, all the tracks for us, Bedford, I mean, we get to do so many cool tracks that these other divisions don't get to. And it's just so much fun to be able to go to a place you might only got to race 2 times in your whole life. A lot of the guys we all don't know. Hagerstown, that place is a blast too. I mean, there's just so many. We went to Bloomsburg and we had great success. That was a blast. I mean, there's just so many cool tracks that we get to race at. And what's crazy is that our class, I mean, everywhere we go, Port, we're getting 40 something cars. I mean, just to make the race is something special. It's hard to see it under 30. I know Path Valley at the end of the year was almost getting 28, 29 cars. So to have that kind of car count, I mean, the class is it's super special. I mean, it's not about moving up or where you want to be. If you want to run a good class, 305 is where it's at.
You talked earlier, your path from where you were running, and you jumped into a 358. Was that insane? Like when you got out there for the first time, was that crazy?
So going from a go-kart to a 358, at first we went back to BAPS and got to practice before we started the season and progressively got better that day at practice. But once you get rolling, the speed you can't tell. Like when we hopped into 410, those few races, you notice the instant speed difference. So when you're hitting a throttle, 358 might take a little bit. The 410, it was like wheel stand, instant. But once you get racing around guys, you can't really tell the difference in speed. When you're moving, you kind of all the speed feels the same. Same with like 305, you're going around the same speed as everybody else around you. So speed, to me, I didn't feel a difference. You know what I mean?
So running 305 the last couple of years and doing what you're doing, you obviously watch other divisions when you're at the racetrack. Do you get the itch for the 358, 410 stuff a little bit?
I do. I really enjoyed running 358s. I liked Williams Grove a lot through the years. I just, by the time we got to go out there and race, a lot of times like Lincoln back then, it was rubbered up. We just follow each other around the bottom. And that was a big reason why we went to 305s, is just so we could race other places and not have to deal with that, after the 410s are done, having a racetrack to actually pass guys on. So this past few years have been great. I mean, we can race anywhere and pass people. And like, I think Hagerstown, we were starting 12th and got up to second a few times at that place. It's just such a racy class, and all the tracks give us a great surface.
for sure. Jimmy, Chris, what do you got?
My question for you was: is there we can go into your schedule here in a minute.
Yeah.
But is there a track that you wish maybe the 305s went to more, or just in general went to that maybe they don't go to?
I mean, I wish we would be back at Bloomsburg. I mean, we were just so dominant there. I mean, it was crazy. It stinks that they took that race away and that track away for now. But that I'd like to be at Lincoln a little bit more. Running 358s all those years, we raced there a lot. Being at Lincoln a little bit more. They put us back on BAPS this year, so that's nice. We're right here in Edders, so a 10-minute drive to the track is always a great thing.
And then I do have you guys just posted a schedule not too long ago. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so past few years we ran probably like 30 something races. This year, looking into it, it might be our last season racing again, just with everything going on. My son's getting older. He loves to play sports, and I like to focus on that kind of stuff. And I'm the kind of racer where I can't just run like 10 races. I need to race. It's hard to get in the rhythm. So I talked to my guys this year, and my crew, they're special. They're a little bit older, but they work so hard. Steve Carr, he was actually with me when I started racing for the Strauss Balls. He was related to them, and he's actually a part owner in a race car now, and owns a few motors for us too. And he's been a great friend all these years, and wanted to come with me on this journey back into racing, and I'm grateful for him. And but so we're gonna run like 45. I told him we're gonna pick up a few more, maybe 50. If we can get a little funding, we might go out to Nebraska and run the Race Saver championship race out there. But our goal, we're gonna try to race as many as we can. We'd like to 2 years ago we came 8th in the country. So we'd like to be in the top 5 in the country and win the state and try to give Logan a run for his money this year too, and try to take some wins away from him. But we're geared up. We got cars ready. We got everything pretty much ready to go pretty hard this year.
So you're saying that this might be your last season running, that's a pretty you feel any pressure to go out and really perform then? More than usual, like this might be the last hurrah, or
I always want to do good. We work so hard. I mean, if you're into it, I mean, you're spending all the time in the shop going over everything, making your stuff right, maintaining it right. We're like this past season, we fell off from the year before. We only got 2 wins and end up 3rd in points, but we spent most of the year trying different chassis, trying different setups. And, the year before that, Bard was dominant, and we kept getting second to him. And I'm like, I got to do something a little bit different to get that little bit more. So this past season, I tried a lot of different things and tried to get my program a little bit better, educate myself a little bit more on what I like to feel. And I feel like I narrowed it down a little bit. And this year we're going to attack that pretty hard. And, the pressure isn't there. My guys, I always say all the time, we laugh the whole way to the racetrack and we laugh the whole way home, no matter how bad I did that night. They're super supportive. My son's just happy to be at the races, and he likes to stand in victory lane. So all in all, I have so many great people around me that we just have fun. And when you have fun, I think the success comes with it.
It's awesome to hear. Chris?
Well, I was to say, so say you have your year you want, your top 5 in the country, win the state. Is that going to make it harder or easier for you to walk away potentially end of the year?
Yep. Doesn't everybody want to go out on top, being the best, right? I don't know. It might be pretty tough. And, I'd like to continue to, help a team get their program better or do something like that. It's just so hard to, this is a second job. I mean, the time you have to put into it, when you have your own team and with Steve and everything. And it's just so much work and time consuming that, to be good, that's what you have to put in, and to be able to help a different team out or something like that, where I wouldn't have to put in that much time, maybe do something like that.
Sure.
So I thought, sorry,
Go ahead.
Chris.
Go ahead, Jimmy. You seem to have something to tie into that. I was going to go a different way. So,
Well, I kind of talking about the last year, kind of testing some things and really kind of trying to find that sweet spot. I saw you at BAPS a few times testing this past season, right? There weren't tons of 305s, and I saw you multiple times at BAPS trying to figure it out. If you kind of have that baseline where you think you're going to start, you come out of the box and it's not what you want, are you going to go back to BAPS and do some testing and kind of do that, kind of try to find that again, or like, because listen, it slaps on the car, it's more investment in time in the middle of the week. Not that I don't encourage anybody to go testing, but is that something that you'll use it to your advantage again, hopefully, if you need to?
Oh yeah, for sure. What BAPS has back there on a Wednesday, I think is great. I mean, there's no reason you should go to a racetrack with a engine problem or this kind of problem when there's a track that has a test and tune on Wednesday. You don't want to waste that time. And yeah, I mean, if we're not right, we always go back there. Or if I think something's wrong with the motor, we'll go back there and do a little testing. And the track's a little bit different than some of the other tracks we're running, but it gives us a good baseline on when it comes down to it's how you feel as a driver in the car, and you want to get that right feel for yourself. And other drivers might be different, but I like my car to feel a certain way. So when I go back there and I'm like, oh yeah, that feels right.
Yeah, no, for sure. Chris, go ahead.
You're right. Yeah.
So Austin, so of the races you've won, which one stands out as your favorite, or maybe you didn't win, just a favorite race throughout your whole career that you have a good memory of?
I think our first year back in 305s, we won at Williams Grove, and all the years that I ran 358s, we came second so many times there. So to get that win at such a historic racetrack, I can say, I won a race at Williams Grove is I mean, that track is well known the whole way across the country. So that was pretty special to me. We won up at Clinton County 2 years ago, and my son was there for that. And that was really special to me to win that race. We were only there 2 times. That was our second time there, and we won. And just to have him there, that was special.
You talked about the Bloomsburg deal. Wasn't around in the form it is now. It hasn't been that way long. And you said, did you win that race, the 305 race there? Is that what you said? You were so good, you kind of kicked everybody's ass?
Yeah, so not this year. This year we went there and we actually had a motor problem, unfortunately, so we didn't get to race. But the year before that, they had 2 races there and we won both. And we were just all night long, from timed warm-ups to heat race. I'm always looking at a race monitor, kind of see where our time's out. And I mean, we were just so good there. A good friend of mine, Jim, he helped guide me in the right direction, and we were just really good. We were really good there.
What do you think the combination is there, right? Because there's not a lot of history for anybody to come out of the gate, right? Somebody else is going to hit on it and be good too. What do you think it fit your style? Did you just feel comfortable right away? What I know it's obviously a combination of all that, but to be that good out of the gate twice, what do you think it was?
I think it fit my style. Like, it was rough, it was racy. You had to be on the wheel. I like that aggressiveness, where you gotta work the wheel, you gotta handle it. A lot of guys, it was new to all of us, so we really didn't. The year before that, there was a race there. I think guys got to run. We didn't get to go out to that race, but you have no notes, so you go there and I was passing guys and they didn't know where to go or how hard to race it. And I kind of found that groove where, I could almost flat foot it and it would hold me. And I think a lot of guys weren't sure of that, just being how rough it was. And I think I just found a better way around the racetrack, and through the ruts and stuff like that. So that's always helpful.
Well, your set was bigger than everybody else's those weekends, so that's really what it sounds like, right? So, and listen, first time on the show, you're going to get my question, and Tony's trying to steal Chris's question. Look, Tony, Chris is the superstar here. You don't take Chris's questions, okay? Tony, let's just get that straight. Okay?
I'll take both of them on Wednesday, but it's fine. Go ahead.
So in the 305 division, you got to name me 2 drivers, and you're one who's going to love racing with. You love racing around; it's fun for whatever reason. I don't care what the reasons are; you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And someone who's a pain in your ass for any other reason, in the opposite direction. Someone that you don't like racing around, not because they're dirty. I don't care what reason. You know what? I'm not even going to preface it. You tell me someone you love racing with and someone you hate racing with.
Oh man, that's a tough one. Me and Zach actually had a few good battles this year at Sealands Grove, and I got by him for the win, and he passed me multiple times on other nights there. And very clean race car driver. I enjoy racing with him, and there's there's just so many. There's so many good guys, and you know I gotta say, Logan. I mean, he's just so tough, and he's such a great little race car driver. I mean, he's young and he has a bright future, and he's aggressive, and that's what you got to be, and it makes us aggressive, and I think it just makes for good racing. So I'd say those two guys, and Mike Allman. There's just so many good guys to race with and race next to. I think all year long, knock on wood. I mean, I've been an axle, and that was it. I mean, these guys are just very clean and respect your equipment. We all spend a lot of money, so that's huge for me.
Yeah, you really don't see too many or too often the big pileups in 305s. It happens, right? That I was at the Path Valley night when Logan won without a front wing.
Yeah.
Were you there that night?
Yeah. We were actually we were leading or running second, racing with the leader, and I think that's the night Doug got tangled up. We were getting ready to lap him, and I got caught up in that. So
it is, yes.
Yeah.
Well, so you talked about your Bloomsburg night. That was Logan's night of that because he didn't have a front wing. The front axle was bent, and he just drove harder than everyone else. It didn't matter. He did not care. He was like, I'm winning this race, and it didn't matter what it took. And, he definitely had to make some aggressive moves to pass all the cars he needed to. But yeah, you're right. Some nights it takes that, right? Some nights it takes that. And I can imagine he didn't make a friend along the way. He didn't make a lot of friends along the way that night. But listen, if you're going to win at a place like Path Valley, that's narrow. So you got to do that sometimes, right? So I don't think he made anybody complete junk, but it was close. That you got to do that sometimes, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, hey, we're all here to win, and on a track like that, I mean, there's just no room. So you got to make room. Unfortunately, if we were on Sealands Grove Report and that was happening, I'd be a little upset. But on that racetrack, I totally get it.
Yeah, Chris.
All right. So, Austin, if you had to pick a race, any division, sprint car or any division anywhere, what race would you want to win most?
Oh, I mean, I'm a kid that watched racing my whole life, and to be able to run like a Knoxville or Kings Royal or a National Open, stuff like that. That's just like always a dream, as a kid, and that'd be something cool to do, past my time. But growing up, that was always something, and running the National Open, and I like history of racing. I enjoy racing, and those prestigious events is a special for sure.
Do you still have the car lot? I know you mentioned that earlier. Is that still going? Is that still a thing?
So we have a service center and a body shop, and we do a lot of metal work. So we're growing, and we're always staying pretty busy. So we try to put business first and fun second.
So before Jimmy, because Jimmy's going to be next here to kind of get you wrapped up and out of here. The last couple of years, black and green race cars. Is there a history there with that? Listen, you don't have to change it a ton year to year, but is there significance in the colors and or the number that you run?
So 34. It's my dad started. He ran the 1A for a long time, and Terry Leininger actually bought his stuff from him, and so he ran 43, and then he ran 34, and it's just a number I've always had. Go-karts the whole way up through. The green came our first year. We were actually like American flag. That year it was red, white, and blue. Our second year is when Matt's dad had our car lettered for us, and it was actually black and orange and white. After that, Ron just loved green, and every year he had it lettered for us. It was green, white, or black and green. And, I loved green after that. And we kept the green going. It's just something, everybody said green's bad luck. So, of course, I got to have green. We got to prove them wrong.
So, by the way, that picture at Sealands Grove with the 305 with both front tires off the ground.
Yeah.
Tell me where you've seen that often at Sealands Grove in a 305.
Right. Impressive. I was definitely too into the racetrack that night. I'd say I wasn't fast. I was too locked down.
Well, and listen, the bump creates that. There's a bump where you guys cross over from the infield to the pit area where you got all the cars cross, so it creates this dip. Well, and the speed you guys carry, the 410s were insane going across that bump. But hey, listen, it makes for a cool picture. I could tell you the story of how that happened, but it makes for a cool picture to say a 305 had both front tires off the ground in Selinsgrove.
For sure. I'm glad we can do that. And, he can tell a lot by a picture. So, like, you guys posting pictures or anybody posting pictures, I'm always looking at them because you can definitely see what your car's doing, different angles, how hard it's getting down. Pictures tell a lot. It's like a story. So, you always got to look at that kind of stuff too.
And Jimmy, I'm sorry, I'm taking your thunder to get him out of here, but
No.
in the 305 division, so two-part question. One is I just saw a post recently about communication devices, cameras, something, and the gigantic fines, right, that have come associated with it. They're fining people $1,000 or $10,000 or something, and you're racing for $400 to win, right? Sounds insane.
Right.
But I guess there was a little bit of fuss in the comments about that, about how much the fine is versus how much you're racing to win. But if you don't break the rule, you don't have to worry about it. That's my thought on that. Number one. Number two, why do you think that's such a big deal? Are they real? Do you think that, I mean, I guess they're making it very obvious, but do you think they will always fight this hard to keep the technology / cost stuff out of this division as long as and hard as they can?
I think so. This whole division is supposed to save money. Any racing you do, you're not saving any money. They're just trying to be better at it. And I mean, they do a good job. Everybody says about our purse here or there, but we made more money running 305s than we did 358s because, our payback through is so well. Say you have off night and you run eighth, and you're getting $250. Well, you don't even get that to start a 358 race. You got to finish like sixth or seventh to get that. So to be able to pass on a track that most of the time isn't very raceable, you're not passing a lot of cars in 358. So yeah, we don't get a lot to win, but it's spread out through. So you're getting 350 per second. Well, that's what, fourth in a 358. So just the first four spots is different. Other than that, the overall is a decent amount because a lot of times in 358 you're running 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th, and you're getting that $125, or I'm not sure what it is nowadays, but and then they also pay like $100 tow money if you don't make the race. We used to get $50 so in 358. So overall, people say about the purse, but it's hard to explain, but what they got going on is great. I can't complain. Any racing we do, we're never going to make any money. Luckily I have a lot of great sponsors that help pay for a lot of this stuff. And that's what guys need to do. They need to work harder. They got to get out there. They got to, talk to people, talk to sponsors, get some money, help lower the cost of, what they got going on. And I think that's where a lot of guys fail to do is to get that extra help and from the sponsors.
My last one, I promise, would be, and it was a two-parter, so this is the second part, not an extra. If there was something in the division that you could be allowed to do that you can't today, would on the car, is there anything that jumps out to you right away that you wish you could do with these cars that wouldn't necessarily cost a ton of money and the adjustability of them throughout a night that you don't have now?
I'd say the biggest thing is bleeders. We're all trying to fight the growth of the tires of, what you're using air wise or how low you start tire pressure. I wouldn't say wing slider. I like that I have to guess where I have to put my wing at, like to me, to get that right. I like that. I don't want to adjust through the night and be like, oh, okay, I'm going to make my car better. It's like, no, I'm going to get this right or I'm going to get it wrong. And I think that opens it up for everybody. I like that rule, but the bleeder thing would be huge, just because we're growing tires like crazy in air and stuff like that. So that'd probably be about it. Other than that, I think it's great.
Perfect. And you talked about sponsors and you talked about kind of all the help that you have. So perfect segue to Jimmy.
Yeah. Let us know who, before we let you go, let us know who lets you get to the track every weekend.
Oh, of course. I got to thank Steve. He owns most of this team, and we work together so well, and he's been great to me all the years, and just been a good friend and family. And my guys that help me, Sam, Rick. I mean, Rick does so much for me. He's also, these guys are like my family. You spend more time with them throughout the year than you do your own family a lot of the times. And, our sponsors are great. This year we got D&M Transportation, D&M Repair Services. Those guys are awesome. Dan over there. Karma, he helps us out so much. Max Stack, Posseland gives us a badass car every year. Harcon, Snellbaker, Save Right. We like to, we got Myers Towing, Bernie Hill Hot Sauce. We got so many great guys. Greencastle came on board this year. They're actually 100% veteran owned. Every employee there was part of the military or is part of the military. So I think that's badass. We got Building Bridges for Brianna. They raise awareness for suicide. A great story there. Follow along with that. We have so many great people on this car, and I think we're gonna have a lot of success.
Well, awesome. Definitely, you got a lot of support. Looks like you have a pretty jam-packed schedule. Before you go, is there any of them that you're really looking forward to? Like one that's really standing out?
I like to. We got a Port Royal race. This is the year that Port Royal's got to happen. I got to get a win there. I mean, it's been so long, and it tries me every time. And when I get that win there, it's going to be special.
Well, definitely, everybody go check out the 305 division. If you don't, it's like you said, it's a really nice competitive division. It's fun to watch, as I'm sure it is for you guys to race. So, Austin, thank you so much for joining us, and good luck this year.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Good luck this year, man. We'll see you out there.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
Later.
See ya. Austin Reed, everybody. That's I didn't know that might be this might be his last season, but
again, for now,
we'll see. But he has a jam-packed schedule. 305s do race a lot. It is kind of surprising.
Well, they have the ability to race a lot, right?
Yeah.
So they're racing every weekend somewhere, and these guys pick and choose a little bit. Listen, every time we get a driver on here, the two things that keep popping up to me and that says a lot is Silver Spring kids, and they love Clinton County.
Yeah,
So many
it
people
does.
just
It
love
keeps popping
Clinton
up.
County in multiple divisions.
I love
it's
Clinton
Clinton County. I got to get up there. If it wasn't freaking half of Eldora away from me, I got to figure out how to get up to Clinton County. So I got to figure out, make a plan to get up there to watch a race of some sort this year.
Place is badass.
Right. And you guys came back and were like, man, this place is cool, right? So
and the
I got to
drive,
figure out how to get there.
the drive is really nice too, at least for me. Like I'm halfway there compared to you, but I like to drive through the mountains over like one of the state forests. I think it's Bald Eagle. It's good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So, again, thanks, Austin, for joining us, and definitely check out the 305s this year if you get a chance, and support all those sponsors that support him, support those that support racing, for sure. Let's get into, before we get into some of the controversial hot topics, why don't you guys, there won't be any of those. Tell us about Racing Xtravaganza, what you guys saw there, anything interesting, anything disappointing. What was your experience there on Saturday?
Never anything disappointing. I think it was cool. It was cool seeing, I'll say this, so JJ Loss's people, BAP's people, they do a lot of interactive, like the wheel spinning thing for prizes for kids. My kid made out like a bandit. First 10 minutes there, got a shirt from JJ Loss's folks, and went to BAP's, got me a gift card, got a wristband, getting crowns, a lot of stuff for kids there, which is cool. A lot of interactive things. Just got to get involved. Ron Rutherford was going to stuff there in Tyler's interview session. A lot of stuff for kids, and that's really what that show's about. I mean, it's cool for us to be around there to talk to some people we haven't seen since the National Open or whatever. But ideally, that show's for the kids to get close to the race cars and be a more relaxed environment. So I loved it. Not bad price to get in. Goes to good stuff. So
yeah, for sure. Everything Chris said there. Some awesome looking race cars. of all divisions, and there were drag cars, there were for anything from quarter midgets to 410s and everything in between was there. And again, cool stuff interactive for kids. I could have a couple beers. It was great. Like for all walks and all ages. They had driver panels up on the stage and got to see that. Obviously, they have the beauty pageant, and they go sort through that selection deal, and uh, very cool just to see so many people just standing around chatting with each other and talking racing, right? And it almost feels like the all season reunion for everybody who didn't see each other. They only on the keyboards all winter long, and then we get back together and talk racing again. So it was cool. And there was a few things that comments I heard and talked about, and people brought white race cars and went, "Well, I show up with a white race car, and everybody else has a white race car this year." So I don't know what's going on with that epidemic, but apparently white's going to be the color this year. So
I
far,
think
It's
I
all
think that's
Jeremy's
your
fault. It's all
I think you're the
Jeremy's
one that
fault.
started
it's
it.
the best mistake I've ever made if they're all mad at each other because they all bring white race cars, because I am in on white race cars. Very good, a lot of good looking race cars for sure. Listen, there's a lot of all black race cars coming out. If anybody hasn't seen, go see Anthony Macri's social media. Just released his scheme. It is more black than even last year. Very sharp lines, very sharp. They did a good job with that. I mean, it's really the same thing, but it's just they just did little subtle differences to even make it sharper. So
Yeah.
that black, red, and white seems to be a thing. Matt Campbell's X was black,
Yeah.
red, and white, predominantly
I
black.
all these
Danny's
teams
car
did.
is predominantly black with red and white.
All
So it's
these
like,
teams made Billy look like a genius by going with yellow and red.
you know what?
Billy,
I
did
hope
you like? I saw the video today.
I
I
need to
like
see
the
it in person.
video. I like the video form more than the art drawn up. He started showing me the art going down the list. I'm like, man, you should definitely with that rainbow car. Probably would have sold so many tickets, but but definitely his car is different for sure compared to, he said, the black and reds, the whites, all that stuff.
Listen, I need to see Billy's car in that video. I probably need to go watch it. I need to see this in person because to me it looks like a mustard, and it looks like, remember in Dumb and Dumber when he has the mustard and the ketchup, right? When he eats the hot whatever, and it just looks like mustard and ketchup all over my screen. But I know it's not that because I've seen other pictures. I've seen something else that the red it's different. So
It definitely looks good on the car from the video his video he just released this week.
okay, cool. So go check out Billy's YouTube page. Check that out. That definitely different. I was not expecting that. If I did not have that on my bingo card of what Billy Dietrich would release this year, that was not going to be it. So I'm excited for that. Definitely some different things that, there's some other paint schemes that really came out nationally. I believe PPM,
Well,
Corey Eliason.
Back to going back to the show though.
All I can see is that scene in Dumb and Dumber, man. Like, is it Dumb and Dumber? Dumb and Dumber, right?
Going back to the show though, you mentioned Cam Smith's car. How you like that 75?
Subtle change in Cam Smith's car with those thin lines really looks good. Yeah, Tyler Rutherford's car is just awesome. I'm a big fan of the blue that he uses, and he likes that light blue. It's almost like our T2T blue a little bit, just a slightly bit sharper than that, but really good fonts on that car, good lines. Kyle Keen's going to change up his number this year on his scheme, bringing back the same thing, but changing the number up. It looks really good. Just a lot of good looking sprint cars. Even Aiden Hare, he's bringing the 358 to the track. It's a very dark car, but it has like gold accent type on it. Super beautiful race car. So excited about that. What I saw. The only thing that kind of like, and I think I'm just getting old, I think is what is happening, is I'm starting to get old. I was standing there at noon and they played the national anthem, and everybody stopped except all the people playing cornhole in their tournament. They just kept playing with their hats on, and they just played right through the national anthem when the whole place stopped. I don't know if someone didn't tell them or they're like anti-American, but if that's the Professional Cornholers Association, that somebody needed to say something probably.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
didn't know they played a national anthem.
on, and it was quiet.
I never heard it, to be honest.
The music was quiet. If I didn't know and I was standing there talking, I don't know if I'd have known, but I started to see people and I heard something come over the intercom, and I heard music, and I was like, got it. They just kept playing. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old, and that digs at me a little bit, but I just happen to be standing at the corner there.
So I hope Billy is dropping a hint to a T-shirt idea. Hulkamania with his car. Billy, if not a hint, it needs to be given to Heather to take it and run with now.
Those
Hulkamania
colors.
Shirt.
The colors match.
Hulkamania shirt, baby.
The colors match the Hulkamania.
If he doesn't have a fire suit made up as Hulkamania fire suit, man, You're missing.
Billy, you get
And
all the
then-
ideas from us now, man.
Let's go.
We're probably a little late in the season for all that. We need to be some of it. I'm not very creative, but that's perfect. If he had the Hulkamania theme, you ride this out, Billy,
Yeah.
the whole year.
Honestly, I don't know why
Helmet-
his suit isn't Macho Man to begin with.
If the
but
helmet doesn't have like fake blonde hair attached to the back of the helmet, like you see motorcycle guys, and like flowing out of the back of the car when he's driving, I mean, man, you missed out, because I'm all in on that. But it was a great show. I was glad to be able to go for sure.
Good. Yeah, the best car that I saw from afar was Kyle Reinhardt's. I thought that one looked really good. I'm excited to go see that out on track. Yeah, it's a white one, but it looks really good.
It's so sharp.
Yeah. So let's go from that and let's get into some hot topics. Let's start with right here in Pennsylvania. Lincoln, Port Royal, Baps, and Williams Grove announced a tire penalty, basically. I'm going to put it up on the screen here. Basically, all four, they'll send tires to a lab, and if they're deemed illegal, the driver or the car owner has to pay back their purse money and a $2,000 fine and a 2-week suspension. Loss of points, all that. What do we think about this? Because this is a harsh penalty. For me, it's a little out of left field. This is only 4/10, by the way. I'm assuming there was bitching somewhere, and that's why this came out. I mean, this is what you kind of do with bigger series for these 4 tracks to get together and do it. I don't know if they're just trying to keep up with the Joneses or if something happened.
I think Jay-Z hit it with Austin there earlier. It's not an issue unless you're doing it. So if you don't want to have to worry about it, don't do anything to your tires. So that's good. I think that's good. Yeah. I think the concern that from reading comments and talks that we've had is, are they actually going to do it? And how often and how they're going to implement it. That would also be the thing.
They pick the lab. The tracks pick the lab, and you can't appeal it. So you can't even go send your own sample out to another lab to appeal it if you are found guilty of said illegalness.
Yeah. Listen, good. Fine. Like, yeah. There are rules. It's racing. There should be rules, and there should be accountability for if you break those rules. But if you don't even have a method in place to test them at a local level, why would you not cheat them, I guess, to get a competitive advantage? So if this at least feels like the other drivers that are trying to do it right feel like they're on a level playing field from the tire perspective, then great.
Good.
Otherwise, now I can already see the slippery slope of going X driver gets caught, and then X driver goes on social media and starts to dig into the appeal process or lack thereof, because there isn't one. It's final. There is no appeal. It's final, right? Cannot be appealed. So they're going to start bitching about the lack of appeal process. They're going to bitch about what lab, how it got there, who sent it there, who drove it there, what happened between this. It becomes this muddy mess, and I cannot wait for that, because it's going to be a social media firestorm, and it's going to be started from a driver that got caught fucking cheating.
Yep.
So live with it, right? So I hope it doesn't get. I want them to use it. I want them to test. I hope no one gets caught. I hope they find out that it was much to do about nothing, and that. The question I had, and I didn't see an answer, was who initiates it?
Who determines it?
Well,
who determines who gets tested and when?
Like, right, who's tires? Like, hey, you won 4 races in a row. You're coming with us.
But like, whose tires? Who gets picked? Right? Is it the randomness? Right? Like the random drug test after the kicker hits a 65-yarder?
Yeah.
Right?
Or the random NASCAR testing where they say something is NASCAR, magically they're going to the R&D center.
So like, there's always that background. Is there going to be transparency in this about the selection of whose tire, when, where, and why? And then there's obviously going to be no transparency on the lab or the appealness of it. But I'm curious what initiates it, how often, and where. Now, I'm kind of glad we're not going to know ahead of time. I don't want to know ahead of time, but I would love to know their thoughts of, is it every race, or is it just going to be when we feel like it? Because if it comes down to a when we feel like it, can you only imagine at Lincoln Speedway and when certain driver gets tested and no one else does? Okay.
Yep.
Could you imagine?
I know.
So
And
that's the slippery slope I'm talking about when it comes to even how they decide who gets tested when.
that's what I mean. I feel like it should be more almost like how NASCAR does it. They pick 3 randomly to go back to the R&D center every race. If you're not doing it every race, or if you only take one person to go and test, I don't know. If they get caught cheating, then good. But to me, it's that track. The track's got to go pay for that test every single time. So they're not going to just go, let's just go send 3 every week. There's no shot that they're going to do that because it's
like
$1,200.
I think I saw.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to go get tested. So yeah, it's going to be interesting when somebody does get tested or somebody does get caught.
Do they try to find a sponsor? Do they try to find a sponsor for like tests? Like like get creative on the business they find to call it the so-and-so tire testing?
Maybe get a sponsor for it.
No, they won't. I'm sure they won't. But I would love to know more about it. But at the risk of the transparency, there's 2 sides to that, right? The transparency could also create knowing when it's going to happen. And I don't think the team should know when it's going to happen because I don't want them to be prepared. I don't want them to show up, finish 7th, and know they're not going to get tested. Or how many times have we heard this over the years at the NASCAR level? Guys knew they were going to get impounded. It was this or that. So they purposely said, I'm not going to go and end up in that spot, or I'm not going to win that race because it didn't matter if I won this race. I'm just saying,
you
right?
Do it randomly like that. I think you would have to do something in the tower. Maybe the race director draws 3 pills before the night even starts.
Who tests that pill? Who knows? So think about what the fans and all the drivers are going to think. How much transparency is really in that?
I don't care what they think. I think you just have to have the race director and somebody else accountable for it. I don't know.
I mean, as fans, we may not care, but
you can't announce it. You can't announce it publicly
announce anything
beforehand. You kind of have to have it set aside to people that are hopefully got integrity. But again,
I still think none of that conversation matters if people aren't doping their tires. So don't do it.
At the end of the day,
quit breaking the law, asshole.
Something from Austin Berry here. What's up, Austin? Last week's guest. It seems odd to me that the lab isn't already determined, agreed upon by all tracks.
Maybe it is. You just don't know it.
I think
it's a hell of a thing to compromise or agree on everything except that. So that's what it's kind of weird. Like they would go 98%. We agree to do all this stuff together. Then lab figure it out.
Yeah, but if the labs have different costs and they get to pay, they're up front in the cost for these.
I get it.
But each track then go find out how whatever lab they want to do based on the cost that they have. I don't know. I don't even know how many are available to do that and how logistics of it. I just don't know enough about it. But if they don't have a set one, and some track finds one that's $100 cheaper than another, so be it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know.
I just think it's going to be like everybody's saying. Are they going to follow through with it? And I don't think it would be fair just to follow through when you feel like it. I think you gotta do some randomness to it and at least take more than one sample if you're going to go send stuff out to the lab. I think that's the only fair way to do it.
Overall, and like Billy said there, just knowing that it could happen might be enough to get guys there to I don't really want to do that. So hopefully no one gets caught. No one, even they can test them all and they all come back clean.
If someone gets caught and they're listening to this podcast, can you come on here and bitch about it? Because I want to hear what went wrong. I want to know. I want to hear it. Give them a couple compounds. Yeah. Okay, Austin. I'm sure that's not happening.
We want to do the opposite of the late model stuff. We talk about how complicated your cars are.
I talked to someone about this weekend about having different either tire manufacturers or different compounds in sprint cars. You want to talk about them trying to eliminate or trying to lessen the cost for teams? Could you imagine if the sprint cars had 3 different tire choices? Now they had to carry 3 different compounds on their trailers versus the one they have now. That's not lowering costs. Late models. I'm telling you, where's the money coming from? Get it. Just like Austin last week. All these teams getting all the money and all these places. Anyway, what's up, Gary? How's it going, man? Hey, join in, man. What are your thoughts on tire testing, Gary?
Yeah,
you're around the sport. You've been around forever, man. What are your thoughts, dude? Let us know.
I think it's going to be interesting. I agree with what you guys said too. When Billy, less information is good. I just think when they go through with the testing, I think they need to be a little transparent to show that they weren't just picking on somebody. But maybe at the same time, I don't care if they pick on somebody they get caught.
If they have a reason, if they get caught, then they deserved it.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine one of the more popular winning drivers gets caught? their fans are going to deny it to the end, and God forbid. God forbid, my guy would never do that. He wins legitimate, and then they get caught cheating, right? Like, okay, bud.
Yeah.
So
Like-
how long? If here's what I'm gonna throw out here. This is kind of out of left field, maybe. If Freddie goes winless to start the year, how many races in from him being winless will people start saying, "Look, he didn't win because he's
if he doesn't win the icebreaker
Week
race
two?
weekend, if he doesn't
The
win
second day,
because he drew the last pill, it's
because
like, oh,
that's
he's
going to be the
cheating.
most vocal crowd out of everybody. That's
He
going to be.
finishes-
We know how that goes.
finishes third on opening day. It'll be the next day.
Yeah.
It'll be an hour after the race. Give me a freaking break.
It's gonna be great. Good times. Gotta love Central PA Lincoln fans.
It's gonna be interesting. I think it's a good thing overall. It's just let's see how they execute it. Speaking of
Agreed.
let's see how they execute it. So controversy today with High Limit announcing their fan fest that they're going to be doing at seemingly every race is what they're saying. Where after time trials and hot laps, 20 to 30 minutes, the pit area is going to be open to everyone. And a lot of people are saying, how the hell is this going to work? They say here, the Fan Fest will consist of a 20 to 30 minute time slot carved out of the program prior to opening ceremonies. And then it goes on to say, while Chase Rodman addresses those who are watching Flow Racing at home, Tony Laporta and Alex Brown will be in the grandstand hosting games, offering prizes to fans at the track. It's not just in the pit area either. They're saying, drivers might go to their merch trailers and sign autographs. I think that's a great thing. I don't hate it being early, but a lot of people are saying, how the hell are you going to manage the pits then? Because you're doing it in the middle of not in the middle, but, the program already started and now you're going to open up and then you're going to have to kick them out. What are your thoughts on this?
We'll see how it goes. I don't know. I don't know how it's going to go. Like you said, you're going to have 30 minutes, floodgates open, and then you have to drain the flood to get the event going again. Picture that on nights when Kyle Larson's there. Like, what are you doing? Like, everyone's going to be there. We see those lines after the races. They're all going to be in line there. So you're kind of now creating a problem where there maybe doesn't need to be one. And they're using Larson as an example. I mean, obviously when he's not there, Brad Sweet. You have a field of heavy hitters. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know if the timing is ideal.
Usually, you get about 10 minutes or so between.
Well, you're saying I don't know a lot here, Chris. Do you have an opinion or don't you?
I don't know. I don't think I like it. I really don't think I like it as a fan.
There
That's
you go. That's
there.
Opinion.
I don't think I like it if I'm a driver. I don't think I like it as a crew guy, and I don't know why they would do it in the first place.
Okay. Jimmy, go ahead. I interrupted you.
I think the Fan Fest idea all around is great. Interacting with the fans, good promotion. My reservation is only out there. How are they going to manage the pits? Now, this could just be what they say in this article here is they're going to start it at East Bay, and they go. FanFest gives options on how they want to spend that purposeful break in the evening. We look forward to offering at more tracks and watching it evolve as the season continues. So I don't think they're locked into that. I think they're going to try it at East Bay, see how it works. I don't think every track's going to be able to do that. I'm interested in when they have support divisions. How are you going to do that? You're going to make them all stop too. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a terrible time to do it. It's just the pit area is the area. Like if you want drivers to go out to the merch trailer or come out to the track and interact with the fans before they get ready for heats and you guys do track prep or whatever, I think that's a great idea. That way you don't have to wait till 11 o'clock at night and go in the pits after if you don't want. It might split that up a little bit. Teams can get out of there immediately if they want to, but it's they're throwing something at the wall. Let's see if it sticks.
I just think they're working at that time. So you figure you come off the track, hot laps, time trials. That's usually from what I've seen, drivers, crew talking what changes to make for the heat or flipping whatever you have to do to the car to get it ready. And now you're going to be either taking the driver out of that, which for like a Brad Sweet and those kind of guys, probably not as big of a deal, but I don't know. I just don't think the timing's right. Either before drivers meeting
I
clear it
agree.
like they do for Fan Fest, like Fan Appreciation Night at Williams Grove, or hurry to show up and get done at 9:30, so it's not that late in the night to go after the race.
Okay, so I guess I'll be the hot take on this because I love it, and I love it because they've proven they can move a show along. They've proven that whether it's a weeknight or a weekend, and they're going to stick to it on the weekend. It sounds like trying to keep shit moving, and they've talked about that openly about running an efficient show. This sounds like that's backwards from what they've been doing, right? But there are times through a night that there's downtime. No division, whatever division, setting up this, moving around that. I love this. And I love this because it's for the kids, not adults, because the kids are still awake after time trials.
Yeah.
It still could be daytime, probably. It's light out. You want to get the sun to set anyway. I just feel like if I'm a fan and I have a kid with me, I want to take them in there. They're not going to be awake at 10, 11, 12 o'clock. They're not going to be awake anymore. They're done. They're tired. You're going to drive
They're
them
going to want
across
to
the
get out of
track.
there. They're cranky.
Tired of sitting there. You want to go home, blah, 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 blah. That's where I'm going with this, and my brain goes with it is for the kids. Now, I can understand the hesitation, right? Because if I'm a crew member, if I'm a team, time trials didn't go well, the car didn't run, whatever the case may be, that's a stressful time. If things didn't go right when your time trials, you couldn't get it to run during hot laps, you couldn't get it to run during time trials. You're trying to scatter for the heat. Obviously, I think that they're going to have probably things in place to go, this team needs to work. We appreciate you being here. This is an exception. Listen, I love that they're going to try it. I don't know. I would love for it to stick. I would love for it to work. I think it's a great time from a fan's perspective to do it. You got there, you got to see heat and motor, you got to see hot laps, you got to see time trials. There's typically a break from time trials to heat one anyway. 15, 20 minutes opening ceremonies. You have this downtime anyway. Use it to your advantage to get the fans' engagement. At this point, everything that this series is doing is for the fans and drivers. Because guess what? That's what makes this all go anyway. And if the fans and drivers are satisfied, you win because they'll have drivers show up for races. You're going to have fans show up to watch the race. That's what makes the world go round. And then when fans show up to watch the race, TV's there. You're going to get sponsors that want to be a part of it. They're doing everything from a fan team centric perspective. And I love that they're going to try it. I hope it works. I can see it not working for all the reasons you guys said and Gary and Billy. I really believe there's a lot of it that could go wrong. But what if it goes right?
And why
not try it?
Yeah, I think the other thing too is there's smart people here that came up with this. They're not just people that haven't been involved in sprint car racing that came up with this. So I think they know, like, hey, if rain's coming, they're gonna push through it. If there's something going on, they're gonna just skip
every
that
time,
part.
no matter what.
Right,
100% right. We just saw NASCAR move a race an entire damn day, which they thought actually. I read on Twitter, whatever functionally known as, that it's one of the first times they ever remember a NASCAR race being moved a day ahead, not hours, a full day. Right? They don't remember that ever happening. If there's rain coming and everybody knows it, they're going to probably tell you at the beginning of the night before they do the first event. Hey, we're skipping this tonight. We want you guys to get a show in. So do you. We're going to skip this tonight. Move along. It's going to piss a couple people off, maybe, but would they rather have their kid get in there to see that for that 20 minutes and then walk home without a race? Like I feel like a lot of common sense has to win here. And some of the arguments I've heard against this, the only one that makes sense to me is from the driver and team's perspective and making sure they're available to the fans.
Yeah.
And based on reading that, they had to have thought about this too. And listen, everything else that I've read about High Limit is that they've gotten teams' input on it. Teams' input about the dashes and the formats and all these things. They've gotten the teams that are already committed to their series input about these things and trying these things. Yep. So I can't imagine they just laid on these teams. I hope. I'm not there, but I can't imagine they just laid on the teams, put a press release out and didn't tell them.
Yeah.
They got input from the teams. And everything that they've done is seemed to have gotten input from their teams about what do you think about this? How would you make it better? Imagine that world, right? Yep. Where they include their teams and the people that are supporting it in the decisions that they make. So I hope it works. I really want it to work. It feels very much like an NHRA fan-centric style, right? Like NHRA, your ticket gets you all access to everything. Yep. We can't do that necessarily with sprint cars, but why can't we? Cars aren't moving.
Yeah.
Drag racing those cars are just as dangerous in the pits as any other car. But when cars are moving in the pits, you have a pit pass or you don't, you're out. It can be done, but they just have to have the structure and the people and the processes in place to make it work.
Right.
And let's try these things while we can. We're not set in our ways. So I love it.
Yeah, I like the idea. I like the idea. I'm just more intrigued on how they're going to do the whole pit thing. I don't think it's bad for them going in there, and if there's something really going on with your team, then that should encourage your driver more to go out. And this isn't for necessarily your local driver at that track. This is for the high limit full-time guys. You know what I mean? Like, they're the traveling series. They got all these traveling guys. Fans want to come out and see them. Not that they don't want to come see the local guys either. That's not what I'm saying, but it's more geared towards their full-time guys. So, maybe they go out to their trailer or whatever, encourage that a little bit more. I don't know. I'm just intrigued on how they're going to work it in the pit. Yeah. Is the organization of that, how they're going to manage that. But everything else I think is perfect. I think this allows them maybe to, and I noticed this with High Limit a little bit, is that they really started things a little bit earlier, like 5:30. You're getting out there for hot laps.
Well, that was weekdays, right?
Right. So maybe they adopt that. You do that here, and then you are rewarding those early arrivers who kind of took their whole day to come out and spend it there at the track. But if there's people that are getting off of work or still want to get there for racing at 7 o'clock, they can still do that, because now you have that timed break, and you should still be able to, at 7 o'clock, do your opening ceremonies, go right in, and be done by 9:30. You know what I mean? So, and maybe still get in the pits after if teams want to hang around. But maybe you're not. I don't know what their rules are, because we know how the outlaws are. You have to stay. If you're an outlaw driver, you have to stay at least X amount of minutes, 30 minutes or whatever, after the checkered flag. I don't know if they have that type of rule here for the high limit drivers, but maybe they can get out of there quicker. Then I don't know.
Well, yeah, maybe this is the compromise. Do this part now while the sun's up, the kids are awake, versus you staying around sitting in the pits all night waiting for fans, and you want to engage, and that's your rule. Now you're sitting around the track till X amount. It's already late. You're going to the car wash. You're going to do maintenance. You got to run the next night. You got to travel from Eldora to Mechanicsburg.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a lot of time. So maybe that is part of that too. It's team centric. We still want the fan engagement. This is a gap we found that could work. Yep. Let's get you done. When your races are done, you get out of town.
Yep.
Maybe there's something to that too. Yep. And maybe listen, I think that everybody needs to give it a shot and let them take a chance of doing something different.
Yeah.
Because that's what High Limit is about. It's about doing this different and doing the sport, putting on a great show and doing things differently that is fan and team centric. So yeah, Gary, I agree with all of that, man. Like it really, at this point, ideally, I love it. I love everything about it. Now it's on them for the execution, and we have to trust that they're ready for it, right? And they're prepared to work through some of the bugs, and why not? Start it from day one, start it from the time you get out there, start here in Florida, see how it goes, and they're going to make adaptations and changes. And listen, if that 20 to 30 minute window turns into 30 to 35 to 40 to get cleaned up, they're going to learn from that and get better, So you're 100% right.
That probably helps the teams out too. Like you're talking, it's team huddle time. They need to work on things. Well, instead of 10 minutes, now you got a half hour. You know what I mean? So
they don't feel rushed.
Yeah, but the thing is can you keep those fans out of the way so they can work? So basically, and you see it with outlaw teams. They rope it off. Maybe that's what they do. We'll see.
Well, and listen, it's High Limit. There's gonna be fan favorites. Rico, Brad Sweet, any of these guys. And listen, I'm a Brent fan, and I'd be down at Brent's trailer, but Brent doesn't always draw the same crowd Rico does wherever Rico goes. Rico is a fan favorite. Kids love it, right? Which is great. He's going to have a crowd. Some of these guys won't have a crowd. They're going to sign, do their thing. I've watched Brent in the pits. He loves signing for kids. He likes interacting with fans and kids. I've seen him in the outlaw shows. I've stood there and take picture after picture of him signing stuff for kids, And again, he's not alone. Some guys are not natural and they don't love it as much, but this is the time versus at the end of the night, they're done, they're tired, they're worn out. They go in the trailer, hide for 20 minutes and come out and sign. And yeah, they do it, but they probably don't love it. Maybe before the disappointment of the night, they get that out of the way and then they can finish their night. I don't know. I guess we'll find out,
I think it helps split the event up and builds hype for the rest of the night too. It has the potential to do that at least.
Has the potential. We shall see. Now's the execution time.
No, not a thought in that brain.
No, I mean, I said my piece.
He doesn't know. Moving on.
It's wait and see time.
Chris
So,
is
yeah.
on the fence.
It's definitely, definitely something that we'll have to wait and see. These guys are experienced drivers, experienced teams, so it's not far off till next heat.
Listen, maybe this also helps with this. Like, and Gary, I love the kind of the conversation of what this brings up to me, because I've been in pits enough, and there's times where the drivers and teams are truly rushed. Been there, seen it. But then there's times where they just stand around, and all of a sudden they're in a hurry after they stood around for 20 minutes and did nothing, and they act like they're in a hurry and being rushed. So, like, there's an argument for both sides of this, and the legitimate reasons to be rushed, I'm in. I get it. The parts, you got to change something. You didn't like what you felt. I believe there's going to be things in place for that, and the drivers have probably talked to High Limit and Brad and Kyle about, okay, we come in and the rear end shaking, we got a motor issue, we're supposed to be engaging with fans, and we just can't tonight.
Yep.
Well, you better prove that you got to do it. You better be doing the work, and we'll take care of your area to make sure you have room to work. Otherwise, your car's done. You move for the heat, change this, change that, boom, let's go. And listen, when they come in for time trials, if you're the first car out for time trials, you come in, you're going to sit there. What are you going to do? Stand on your wing now, watch everyone else time trial, or are you going to get to work and get ready for your heat so you can do the fan engagement?
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, right? So, but yeah, these are pros. These are the pros, and let's act like it.
What he's saying what I'm saying is the drivers might not have to be in the huddle, and that's kind of what I was alluding to when I'm saying this is more for the high limit guys, because I think those guys, they have traveling teams. They're set for this. Not saying that the driver isn't involved. There's plenty. The drivers are definitely involved, but not as much as maybe like a local guy that's just showing up for that weekend.
Right.
So I think it's more for that than it is.
It is. And that's what they talked about. Being t-shirt trailers are going up in the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
You get out, you debrief. Team knows what to do. They go to work. Fans can come in and go to designated areas, and they may not just be walking around in the pits at the cars. So, 100%, Gary. You're right. How many times you see them get out, hand their helmet to someone, they walk in the trailer, close the door behind them, and you don't see them for the next 20 minutes.
Just they're laying down in the trailer on their phone. That happens too. You know what I mean?
We'll see. I'm excited for the new shit that they're doing. I can't wait to see it and see it executed. As a fan, whether I'm there or watching it on a flow when they're across the country, I'm sitting here. I'm excited for these things, and it could be a changing of the guard in the sport. You just don't know, and time's going to tell.
For me as a fan, I would love to be able to do that at 6:30 in the afternoon, because I'm a guy that gets there early instead of having to wait till but the thing is, if they do an efficient show too, you still have time at the end of the night. You know what I mean? Like, hey, if it's only quarter to 10, when everything's over, you still have time probably to go into pits after. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works. That's pretty much it with hot topics. What's
racing this week?
Wednesday. Oh yeah, racing this week. Volusia, World of Outlaws starts Wednesday, goes through Saturday. Lots of teams going down like always, but I feel like there's a lot more this year because High Limit has so many cars, and they're going back to back at East Bay then right after. So, Jack, I will play after this for sure. But yeah, so who are we looking out for down at Volusia? Obviously, I think David Gravel's probably the best down there. Obviously, somebody we're going to watch. Donnie Schatz is also strong there. Anybody else you guys are keeping an eye out? Maybe not even necessarily to win, but just to see how they perform.
I think you're going to see a lot of Brad Sweet.
I'd say, are all these high limit guys running the outlaw races?
I think most of them will be. Yeah, it seems like a lot of them are.
I mean, I think that you go to Volusia, I think you have to talk about David Gravel and Carson Macedo and Brad Sweet, and depending on the track surface, you got to start up front. There's not always a lot of passing, and it's heavy, and maybe it's not. I mean, there were some pretty good 360 races, but the cream rose to the top every night down there. So you had the big unit and you had Haferteep. They were at the front every night. So I don't know, man. Every year in Volusia, I feel like I'm excited for it, and it ends up being kind of the same old story every year. It's not. I don't want to downplay it. It's not cool that they're racing in February in Florida, but I don't know.
Well, usually too. And I noticed tonight, I think I saw a post where it was 114 UMP mods are racing there tonight.
Oh God!
So I think that's one thing though, because I don't think that they are having the modifieds with them every night. I don't know for sure, but I think that when you have 50 sprint cars and 120 modifieds, I have no motivation to stay up till midnight
There's
to watch
nothing
that.
worse
Dude.
than that.
Not on a
There's
weeknight,
nothing worse.
especially.
Nothing worse.
I do.
Look,
I was gonna say, I think it's interesting as like comments say with Logan Schuhart and Brent Marks. I think for these high limit guys, even through the outlaw shows, I think we're gonna start seeing the early stages of this battle shaping up. Sweet, Rico, Marks, just kind of see what they stack up together, especially once we get into high limit next week.
I think these shows where they overlap, where the two series, it's going to be more of a rivalry now. I can feel that developing maybe, where there's a little more, not necessarily, a little personal.
It feels like Posse,
a little more pride
stuff,
in what you're in. Maybe, I don't know.
It's almost like Posse versus Outlaws, so it's gonna be high limit versus Outlaws.
I could see that because now there's obviously a split. There's only so many shows that they get together in a year, and this is the first batch that you'll see for a while. I mean, you won't really see them. You'll see them probably through Texas a little bit, maybe, but for the most part, you won't see them too often besides huge shows.
Here's the awkward part, and I'm kind of here for it because it's going to be so obviously awkward. If it's Dirt Vision and it's World of Outlaws, if a driver that is not an outlaw wins and they are a high limit driver, they probably don't say the words high limit. They don't say the words flow. They don't say the word series. They just say driver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before it used to be when they would announce, if there were Tyler Courtney was racing for the Outlaws, they would talk about all-star champion. They would talk about four-time winner in the all-stars. They wouldn't talk about flow, right? But which just makes sense. But like, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't competition. With all the things that went on in the off season of all the employees moving from one to another, TV network to another,
this could be little jabs.
It's going to be this awkward silence if there's anything that stands out about one of the drivers from high limit doing something over here that's good on this, and vice versa. If they come over and run it all, which they probably aren't allowed to because whatever. But it's going to be awkward, and I'm here for all of it. I cannot wait to hear any of it. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, same here. So
because their silence is going to create division. Their silence when it creates the division. All the fans already are. There's a lot of fans out there that are F this side or F that side. It's already happening for some ungodly reason. I don't know who like the personal vendetta against one series or the other. It's freaking weird. But they're going to create this division by not talking about it, I think. And it's going to do that. And it's going to be like, oh, that's my favorite driver in there with this series. That's my favorite driver in there with that series. F them. Look at what we did. Very much a Posse Outlaws thing, but by silence. And it's going to be the most awkward thing ever, and I'm here for it.
Gary says, look out for Little Hod. I could see that. He's won here before. Steel City Demon. Odds we see the Silver 57. I think you'll obviously see him at East Bay. I am interested to see if he does show up to Volusia. I think he would, but maybe with...
You won't announce it ahead of time.
Oh, yeah. You got to pay him for that.
Yeah, you got to pay him to show up ahead of time. Or to announce that you're showing up ahead of time. Yeah, they don't just do that shit for free. They don't go race for free, bud.
But I think that'll be an interesting thing to see. Is those guys like Larson. We kind of like I already said, do the high limit guys even show up? I think they will. I mean, you want to get the season started. You want to get going. It's February.
Personally,
already down there.
Looking at a lot of the schedules, and guys are in Florida until like the day before, like 2 days before they come back for the icebreaker. Like, they're down there racing wherever there's racing down there and staying as long as they can. And I'm envious of every day of it.
And two of those guys, like obviously Danny, I want to see how Danny's going to do down there. It seems they have high expectations. And Anthony Macri, we'll see what that team, we haven't heard hardly anything from them since they left BAPS.
Well, they posted their schedule
until now, right? Until now, like they just went radio silent and they got a black and white picture yesterday, the schedule today. So,
I think that team misses out on so much social media opportunity by not posting things. I don't know who does or doesn't do their stuff, but man, they could really step up their game and do a lot. Anthony's so popular.
It's that almost like they took a full-on break. They just went missing for months.
I know, but even during the season, it just wasn't really great. I think that they missed the boat a little bit there, that team, because there's so many fans and such a loyal fan base and a big fan base that they just don't do a lot of social media consistently are very good quality at times. I think that they miss that a little bit. And I don't know who does it. I hope I'm not attacking someone personally that I know that didn't know they did their social media, but I think that that team could really afford to step up their game a little bit.
Fair. Jack Young with the question: how do you think the T-shirt trailer situation will play out, especially with the outlaw rules? Or you think it'll be the same as is? I think it'll be the same as is because High Limit is all about that freedom. I think they'll let World of Outlaw guys come in and gladly park their trailers wherever they want. You know,
Yeah, High Limit guys have to find a different zip code. They're gonna have to store them somewhere in a storage unit or something.
Yeah,
they're not even gonna let them near the premises.
That might get a little bit uglier than it has in years past, maybe. But I mean, we already know the rule is you can't park with the Outlaws. The Outlaws get the prime spots. You got to get off the property to sell your T-shirts or sell it out of your trailer in the pits. So should be interesting. All right, so 410 racing this week coming up. Also coming up Wednesday after a really successful first show. Congratulations, Chris. That was awesome.
We had so much fun.
Rolling podcast with Tony and Chris. Episode number 2. You guys are going to have Jay Fantasy.
Yes.
Fantasy?
Yep.
Fantasy. Right?
Fantasy.
That's what I thought. On Wednesday, 7 p.m. Tune in. It'll be on T2T. It'll be on Sportsman Media. It'll be on PA Dirt Track and Promotions. Last week with Steve Wilbur was a lot of fun. Very awesome show. Chris, what were your thoughts on your first episode, and what are you looking forward to this week?
I mean, I loved doing it last week. That was, a new thing for me, being with Tony and kind of our first dive in there. But you couldn't have had a better guest with Steve Wilbur. The guy's been around forever, seen everything, raced cool stories, and being in promoting side with the Wingless Sportsmans and racing ever since I was a kid. Knowing it was really cool to hear him talk and speak to all those things. So winged, wingless, all the different tracks. So that was great. This week I'm intrigued. I don't know the depth of the sportsman field as well as Tony yet, but these guys are all interesting, and I still love that culture in those pits and everything like that. And Jay being a second generation racer, at least, some family ties. It's gonna be fun to hear what he has going on and where he came from and kind of what his season's gonna look like.
Listening to if you've never been to BAPS and watched the Sportsman and heard Dave Hare introduce Jay Fantasy, Tony, if you're listening, find a clip, if you can get an audio clip of Dave Hare talking like, hey, so and so's coming out for hot laps when they talk about Jay Fantasy, however you're saying it. See if you can clip that audio and play it on your show because it's cool. He has a cool nickname for him. He delivers it cool. It's a driver that I know. He runs the 222s. He's 222. It's gold. It's reflective, very sharp race cars. Been watching him forever since I've been watching Sportsman at Lincoln for years, going way back. So I'll be tuned in for sure. And then Tony, if you can find that audio of that and can clip it, play it. There it is. Rock and roll, Jay Fantasy. So and Dave Hare just delivers it so cool. So I'm excited.
He does everything cool though. He's so good.
Yeah, you're not wrong, Gary. You're not wrong, sir. I noticed those things like you do, man. The scheme is cool.
So yeah, definitely check it out Wednesday, 7 p.m. Check them out. This is turning into
Ken unofficially confirm it is turning into an exciting month of February even after this, so more details to come on that, but looking forward to it. Tony's got his whole research book opened up and we're going down all the rabbit holes, so looking forward to getting back out of here on Wednesday.
And definitely big shout out to Tony Sharp, PA Dirt Track and Promotions. If you've been following at all, he's been doing clips of the Rollin' podcast and also our show, which has been awesome to have throughout the week. Just little snack bites from the episodes. So if you can't catch the whole episode, you can definitely catch those clips. Tony's been doing an awesome job. So shout out Tony and check him out on Wednesday.
Exciting stuff here. I mean, along with that, but even here next week, another exciting show.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that.
Here, we're going to have, he's confirmed, right? You guys confirmed it at.
Yeah.
JJ Loss is going to be our guest next week. So definitely come in, check us out there. That'll be an interesting one.
Did we ever confirm the other thing yet?
No.
Yeah.
No.
We're going to talk about
Cool.
that after this. Might have a
Perfect.
surprise in a week or two, a couple weeks, boys and
Yeah.
girls watching. We'll see.
So-
Maybe we'll see.
You never know.
Yeah. Keep your eyes peeled. And we're less than 3 weeks away from the icebreaker, so it's gonna get
Hopefully.
yes, hopefully. But we got Volusia this week. We got icebreaker coming up within 3 weeks. Hopefully,
We'll take the
things
words
are
from Steve
starting to get
Wilbur.
rolling now.
Steve Wilbur said opening day at Williams Grove is going to be sunny and 70. Opening day at Lincoln is going to be sunny and 62.
You're only going to get one. You're only going to get one of the two. That's just not going to work.
Can they? It's supposed to be like 60 on Saturday. Like it's 50
Just move the
all
icebreaker
week
up
this week.
3 weeks. It's
Let's
fine.
move it up to Saturday. Let's go. Friday,
They've done
Saturday.
it
Let's
before.
go.
Let's move it. Let's go. I'm in.
Dakota's got Jordan's car ready to go. Don't worry. It's fine.
Can we have a show devoted to Chris? Every show.
Dakota,
is
I have
devoted to
2
Chris.
shows, man. I can only do so much
Every
here.
show is devoted to Chris.
He is the superstar.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for checking us out tonight. Thank you again to Austin Reed for joining us. Very interesting career there, and look forward to seeing him at the track this year. And thank you guys for tuning in live, and we'll see you next week. And definitely tune in on Wednesday.